The American dream starts with citizenship. Some Arizonans are taking that first step.
All persons who are taking the oath, please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
This is Citizenship Week across the land, and we bring you the stories of 4 new Americans. It's Arizona Week.
Production of Arizona Week is made possible in parts by a grant from the Stonewall Foundation and by the members of Arizona Public Media. Thank you for your continued support. Once again, your moderator, Michael Chhatra.
25,000 immigrants took the citizenship oath this week around the country. Tonight, 4 in Arizona tell us their stories, along with their official welcome into U.S. civic life. Plus, a lawyer discusses what he says is the need for more immigration to grow the economy. Our first new citizen story comes from this Southern Arizonan.
My name is Angus Neil Torres McKinnon. I am from Tepic Nayarit, Mexico. It was a long journey. I think I never knew how important it was till a couple of years, 5 years ago. It's been a great journey. I'm very excited today to be a U.S. citizen. Very proud. I mean, I've always looked like a Caucasian. Talk, speak. English is my first language. Spanish is now my second language. But I'm very proud. It's a paper, but it's a very important paper. It just sets you apart, from a goal that I've met, that I've come up with. It's a long but good road. I first thought about becoming a citizen in about 2005. Since 2005, and then ever since then, working hard, saving money, and here I am today. About taking the oath as a citizen, that I understand it, I can say it in English, smile about it, and share it with all my other new citizens as well, all my new friends. Yeah, looking forward to voting, very much so, very cool. Hopefully, well, maybe not looking forward so much to jury duty either, but yeah, looking forward to voting very much.
Angus Torres was among 13 natives of Mexico who took the oath Tuesday at Tumacacori National Historical Park south of Tucson. We were there.
Good morning to all of you. It's my privilege and honor to convene this naturalization proceeding, especially in this most beautiful of places. I would like to welcome all of you and congratulate all of the candidates who have worked so hard to reach this momentous day. Thank you for your motivation. You are truly an inspiration to all of us. I also want to congratulate and thank the friends and family and relatives of those who have supported these candidates in their quest for citizenship. All of you are also a very important part of this day, because without you it would have been much more difficult or maybe impossible for our candidates for citizenship to arrive here today. This is a very, very happy occasion. It's definitely one of the happiest things and one of my favorite things that I do, that I preside over as a judge. It's also a really special day today because it happens to be Constitution Day, and it was 226 years ago today that our Constitution was signed. And it was signed to protect the rights and the privileges of our citizens, which all of you will soon be privileged to join, and also to limit the government, limit the authority of the federal government, which is also very important. We're very lucky that we have those kinds of limits. That's what makes us free people. We have 13 new citizens today, and they are all from one country, our closest neighbor from Mexico. So in a few moments, our new citizens will take an oath of allegiance, and from that moment on, they will answer as citizens of the United States. Generally at this time, I call out all of the different countries. This is the first time that we've had everyone from one country. In a way, it's kind of nice because you're all brothers and sisters and comrades coming from the same place, probably different situations, but you're all familiar with each other and with your culture, and I welcome all of you today.
All persons who are taking the oath, please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
Congratulations. You're all now American.
You've presided over a number of citizenship ceremonies. What inspires you about doing these ceremonies?
Well, first of all, it is, of course, one of the happiest responsibilities that I have because I'm usually presiding over criminal matters or civil disputes. So I love to preside over the naturalization ceremonies. It's a big day in these people's lives.
And how do you prepare for the ceremony? Do you learn something about the people who are taking the oath?
I don't get a lot of information about them. Before I preside over a ceremony, the only information I'm provided is the number of new citizens and the countries that they come from.
And your preparation, though, is based on, obviously, your knowledge of the law, your knowledge of U.S. history.
And also my own feelings about becoming a citizen and welcoming immigrants.
And can you describe those feelings? Do you get emotional about this as you're performing the ceremony?
I do, especially when we have a lot of the new citizens telling us about their backgrounds. We've had new citizens from all over the world, but a lot of them come from countries where they've been very severely persecuted. And they talk about, I had one young man speak about never waking up one day in his life without being at war until he came to the United States.
What's the one detail that you want all new citizens to embrace as part of their becoming Americans?
I just hope that they'll really participate in the system, because I think one of the best things is that we are a country of immigrants, and we really do rely on all the new ideas and talents and life experiences.
You mentioned in your remarks those of us who are citizens by accident of birth. What do you say to those of us who don't perhaps have an appreciation for the work it takes to go through this?
I think that's a really important matter. I hear people making comments frequently, since we live near the border, about why don't people just become citizens, or why don't they go through the legal process. But I don't think they understand what a long journey it is, how expensive it is, and how difficult it is to learn a new language and pass the extremely difficult test that our new citizens have to pass.
Among those becoming citizens at Tumacacri were a 10-year-old and a 90-year-old. From the middle of that age span, here's the story of another.
My name is Rosa Abud, and I was born in Magdalena, Sonora, Mexico. I came to the United States in 1963. I was 8 years old.
And you came with your parents?
Yes, I thank my parents for bringing us to the United States. We are a big family. We're 14. From Mexico, there was 10 of us coming into Mexico, and we've always thanked him for bringing us to the United States because it's just such a beautiful nation. You know that I thought that being a U.S. citizen would be like, okay, this is part of what I have to do now after I finished all my education and I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I thought, okay, I'll be a U.S. citizen now because it's the right time. But I didn't think that it was going to be so important and that I was going to feel so good after I did it. So it's a special day. It's my birthday. And I didn't know that it was a Citizenship Day, and it was, what other day is it today? Constitution, Citizenship, and my birthday. How coincidental is that? It's very special for me, and I've just been honored and I've just been blessed, and I'm humbled to have been done this at this day. The reason why I did it is because I realized that I needed to give something back. I needed to practice my citizenship, like voting and serving the jury. It is important that I'm part of the whole picture here.
New citizens aren't the only ones moved by the process. Experienced federal immigration officials say it motivates their work. Here's Al Gallman, director of the Tucson office of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Today, as we celebrate Citizenship Day and Constitution Day, we also celebrate you and the journey that you traveled to get here. During this week across the country, there are over 200 naturalization ceremonies, and over 25,000 people will become citizens of the United States. However, right now, you are the nation's newest citizens. So again, congratulations.
Al Gallman, director of the Tucson field office for the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Thanks for speaking with me.
Oh, thank you for coming all the way down here to Tumacacre, Arizona. This is a special ceremony. It was part of our partnership with the National Park Service, and we're always pleased to be here.
Relatively speaking, this seemed like a small group, 13 people taking the oath. Is that so, or what size of groups do you usually see?
Well, normally we do ceremonies every other Friday in the district courthouse, and we do 2 every other Friday, and they're generally about 50, 60 people. We come out here because we like to celebrate our partnership with the National Park Service on special holidays, and of course today is Citizenship Day and Constitution Day.
And how long has the process been for the people who took the oath today? How long have they been working at it, studying, taking the tests, etc.?
Well, it's individually. Each of the 13 probably have different stories. But from the time they file to the time they go to the oath, it's generally 4.5, 5 months. The law requires that, in general, that they have been permanent residents of the United States, green card holders, the colloquialism, for at least 5 years. It's a little bit shorter for spouses of United States citizens.
And in the Tucson Citizenship and Immigration Service office, how many customers, aspiring citizens, do you see on a daily basis?
That varies. We probably have about 400, 450 a month that we interview. Last year, we presented to the court for oath ceremonies just a little over 2,900. And this year we're on track to be just about the same number.
And is that an increase from previous years? Do you expect to see it continue to rise?
Actually, for about the last 3 years, it's been very steady. About 400 a month that we see in the office, and about between 2,000 and 3,000 oath a year.
Now in Tucson and southern Arizona, we would expect to see most new citizens coming from Mexico or other parts of Latin America. But they're from all over the world, right? What other countries are represented among your customers?
Virtually, you name it, we have customers from that part of the world. And the University of Arizona brings people from all over the world. Fort Huachuca and Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, the spouses and the people involved with the military also come from all over the world. So we have a good mixture. Probably from Central America, Mexico is probably about 70% of our customer base.
And what is your personal inspiration for doing the work you do?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I haven't been asked that before. Before me, my dad was in immigration, and I just loved the enthusiasm he had for the job. When I got into it, learning the laws and seeing the smiles on people's faces when they take the oath of allegiance or when they get their green cards, it's very rewarding.
New citizens come from around the globe, often fleeing political strife and repression. Here's one Tucson man's story.
My name is Chhatra Tiwari and I'm from Bhutan. I came in June 18, 2008. Before 1990, the life in Bhutan was wonderful, beautiful. It was so good. All people were happy and it was a peaceful hamlet there. But in 1990, the Bhutan government brought a policy called as One Nation, One People, which means we have to do whatever the government instruct. Like we have to follow their culture, we have to wear their national dress wherever we go, and that could not digest. And also before 1990, the government, we used to have our own language in the school, in the curriculum, and that has been banned. So our people had shown the peaceful demonstration against the policy brought by the government. So because of that, the Bhutan government sent a lot of troops in the village and they started torturing the people where we could not tolerate that one. So before that, we even had never heard about the word refugee, but we become the refugee and we had to come all the way through India to Nepal, and we got asylum there, and we spent 19 years over there. After 19 years I spent in the camp, we got an opportunity. The U.S. government announced that the U.S. government is willing to bring 60,000 refugees. But the question comes, what about after 60,000? And again, the government changed the mind, and whoever are interested, they could come and settle in U.S. So it's been already 45 to 50, I don't have the exact data, but that 45 to 50,000 refugees have already been settled in U.S. in different states. Becoming a citizen is a big responsibility on the shoulder. So after having no citizens for the last 24 years and getting a citizenship absolutely makes people happy. So I'm very much happy, more festive, and I would like to give thank you to the U.S. government because the U.S. brought us here.
The American dream includes not only political freedom, but economic freedom. Here's Tucson lawyer Oscar Lazardi, a partner at Rusing, Lopez and Lazardi, telling how he helps his clients find new workers who may also become new Americans. You specialize in helping employers get the right kind of people for work, whether they're in the country or out of the country, in the non-immigrant work visa realm. Talk a little bit about what that is in the law.
Absolutely. From a 36,000-foot view in terms of immigration law, you have two different immigration classifications. You have the immigrants, which are typically known as the green card holders, or people trying to obtain their green card and eventually becoming naturalized. And then you have the non-immigrants, which are workers here in the country on a temporary basis. So my specialty is representing employers bring in highly skilled labor to work here in the United States because these employers cannot find U.S. workers to fill these positions.
Give an example of that from your own practice.
Sure. I represent a French aerospace company that has its headquarters here in Tucson, Arizona. It's a very specialized, aerospace industry is very specialized. They have manufacturing operations in Nogales, Sonora through their Maquiladora program. So they'll bring in engineers that have worked all over the world into the United States. So these are highly skilled engineers that come in to manufacture and help design and market the product here in the United States. The other type of visa that I work on is what's referred to as an H-1B, which is for a specialized knowledge. So that'll be an engineer who, for example, we represent various state agencies who bring in software computer engineers to work for, various state agencies because there are not U.S. workers qualified to fill those positions.
There are people out there who would say that's hard to believe considering the skilled workforce that the United States has. So what areas does this tend to occur in?
Well, it really, where it occurs, and what's interesting with the new immigration law that's before the House of Representatives right now, this law is, as well as with our post-secondary and our K-12 secondary, is focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So where you see the positions here in the United States that employers cannot fill is in those technology, if you will, areas. So in order to attain these visas, and this is kind of a misnomer with respect to the public, is they say, well, most foreign workers are coming in and taking U.S. jobs from U.S. citizens and driving the wages down. That's just simply not accurate. In order to obtain an H-1B visa, the employer must get a labor certification from the Department of Labor, one that certifies that the employer has advertised the position in the United States, cannot find somebody qualified for the position, and they're certifying that they're going to pay the foreign worker at or above the prevailing wage rate as determined by the Department of Labor for that specific industry.
So your clients are not out there looking for cheap labor, they're looking for skilled labor.
Absolutely, and there's just not the skilled labor here. The other interesting thing with respect to the H-1B, typically what you'll find is a student here in the United States on a student visa. So they'll get a degree in mathematics, physics, computer science, and they have 1 year of what's called practical training, so they can work with an employer. And at that point in time, then these individuals will apply for an H-1B again, because there's not that skilled workforce here in the United States.
Is this the nexus, what you're talking about, is this the nexus between where the political considerations of immigration match up with the economic considerations?
I think so. I think, and again, I think of all the issues facing this country probably over the next few years as well as the previous years is immigration. It's an extremely complex issue. It's unfortunately a very divisive wedge issue for this country. And I think with respect to the new immigration law, it's a piece of legislation that, although it's not perfect, I think that it effectively, efficiently, and from a cost perspective, addresses this issue. And with respect to the guests that you had on earlier, who have recently become U.S. citizens, the biggest issue we have is close to 11 million people that are undocumented here in the United States. Plus, then you have people who have applied to become U.S. residents here and then eventually citizens that have gone through the process properly and that are waiting for a visa to be available, where the wait is in excess of 10 years. That's just not acceptable, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
And that's an economic issue.
Absolutely, it's an economic issue. In fact, what's interesting with respect to this legislation that passed the Senate, the CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, it's a nonpartisan organization, scored this act, and what they determined was that over the next 20 years, it'll reduce the federal deficit by $1 trillion. Over the next 10 years, it should reduce it by about $132 billion. Again, in terms of economic growth, which you hear a lot about, and how are we going to grow the economy, because when you grow the economy, you create jobs. So the CBO has also predicted, in terms of economic growth, that within the next 10 years, they should get an increase of 3.3% roughly to the gross national product, as well as 5% over the next 20 years. So if you look at this legislation, it reduces the deficit, it grows the economy, it humanely addresses the issues with respect to the undocumented folks we have here in the country. It addresses the backlog of issues, or the backlog of time in terms of people to actually get immigrated into this country.
Let's go back to what you said about the employers you represent to get skilled workers here. And because this program is largely about people attaining their citizenship, the folks that you help employers get into the country are not in search of U.S. citizenship?
That's correct. In order to qualify for a non-immigrant work visa, you have, at the time you apply for the visa, your intent is not to permanently stay in the United States. You have to affirm your intent is to leave. You have to maintain your residency back in your home country. So that's right. But while they're here in the United States, there is an avenue for them to become green card holders with both the H-1B and the intercompany transfers.
So they eventually could become citizens?
They could. Well, they could first become green card holders, which
Right.
are residents. Once you've been a resident for at least 5 years, then you're eligible, provided that you satisfy some of the other requirements in order to naturalize.
The same process we've seen with many of the people we talk to.
Correct. I would imagine with some of the folks that you've talked to, there are various classifications or programs in order for somebody to obtain their green card.
Oscar Lazardi, attorney with Rusing, Lopez, and Lazardi here in Tucson. Thanks for speaking with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We have one more new citizen story to tell, and we're going to let it close this episode of Arizona Week for Friday, September 20th, 2013.
My name is Sadiya Buta, and I was born in Kenya. I was raised there in a refugee camp, and I moved here September 2007, and I am a Tucson citizen now. I'm going to the University of Arizona as a second year. I plan on applying to the College of Pharmacy. I got my U.S. citizenship back in July, about 2 months ago. I decided to become a U.S. citizen because my parents also decided that they wanted to be a U.S. citizen. Both my parents are from other countries, so like third world countries, and there was a war going on in their country, so they moved to Kenya to have a better life for their kids, and we decided to move to the U.S. to settle here. And so since my parents became a citizen, and I decided that I wanted to become a citizen and dedicate myself to this country, live here. I knew the consequences that I needed to follow. There's certain requirements that you need to do, or certain things that you have to do in order to become a citizen. The first thing is that you have to have lived in the U.S. for 5 years, and after 5 years you can apply for your citizenship. And if they accept you, you go through like different tests, like an interview and different things, and you have to pass the interview for you to get the citizenship certification. The day that I took my oath as a U.S. citizen, I kind of felt proud because, I belong to this country now. I surrendered myself, so I'm from here now.
Production of Arizona Week is made possible in parts by a grant from the Stonewall Foundation and by the members of Arizona Public Media. Thank you for your continued support.